You are probably not a salesman. Hey, I am Chuck the bureaucrat, and I'm going to say something that I know will upset some people, but I think it has to be said. Military service members are not salesmen. You can draw a lot of parallels between military service and civilian jobs. Running a warehouse, flying or maintaining an aircraft, fire and emergency services. But military training, especially that leadership franchise that I talk about, contains absolutely zero training in high-end sales. Maybe there's a little crossover with retail sales, but mark my words, not when it comes to cars, houses, and major product lines. And I tell you this because the work of a salesman is so absent from the military experience that most service members don't even begin to know what a salesman with a capital S, what he looks like, what he acts like, and what he does. Since we don't really understand what a salesman does, transitioning military service members can accidentally take on a sales job without really understanding what they're getting into. Or worse, some military leader might recommend that a transitioning service member take a job in sales. And yes, I have a chip on my shoulder about this issue based off some personal experience. See, I was an ROTC cadet and I got a degree in electrical engineering. I was branch detailed to the field artillery out of the Quartermaster Corps. I did some cool stuff with early digital communications, and I ran a warehouse, and then I deployed with an infantry battalion as a property book officer. And then I met my wife, and we decided we were going to leave active duty. Now, in that little bio, did you hear anything that suggested I had a future in sales? No. But I bet you wouldn't be surprised to know that I was pretty compelling when it came to arguing policy, and that I was also pretty good at getting people to see things from different angles. You might say that I was selling ideas. And a couple of things came together to misguide me into the world of sales. There were military people telling me, "You're a natural salesman." And they were completely unqualified to make that assessment, but that wasn't the only pitfall. It just so happened that my wife was going to ETS about 3 months after I did. So I took a job at a store in the local mall. The store was running a promotion on membership cards, and I got a commission every time I sold one of these cards. Well, I figured out which customers benefited the most from becoming members. Then I got really good at convincing them to join. My manager was amazed and said I was a natural salesman. But I wasn't actually selling anything. I was convincing people who had already made the purchasing decision. I was convincing them to accept a discount. Because you know me, I'm always trying to figure out how systems work and make them work for me. And that is where I ran into the third false signal about sales. At the time, I was very interested in real estate investing. So when my wife and I PCS'd back to my hometown, I quickly bumped into a real estate broker who convinced me that the best way to get into real estate investing was as a salesman. After all, Chuck, you're a natural salesman. No. It took me about 8 months to squander my entire savings, and I made enough sales to preserve hope, but not to make a living. Eventually, I ended up with an engineering job at a local manufacturing company, and from there, it was constant career growth. But I never worked in sales again. But so what? I mean, what does it mean for you and your transition? Well, first of all, I'm not saying don't take a sales job. I mean, after all, sales can be incredibly lucrative. So if you have the skill, it can be a great decision. Instead, be aware that military service blurs our individual strengths and weaknesses. There is a reason that A students work for C students, and it's important to understand where you fit into that. And at the same time, the military people around you, they may have insights into you as a person and a leader, but it's likely that they don't really understand the world that you are transitioning into. Even the transition assistance folks, Their work is far more about making sure you get what you're entitled to than finding your place in the labor market. Ultimately, it is your transition, and a big part of that is figuring out who you are and where you really fit in. There's bound to be some stumbles, but in the long run, those missteps are more about learning than anything else. And if you are interested in a sales job, here's what I recommend. Don't take a sales job right away. Instead, get a job where you are around successful salespeople. Watch what they do and what makes them successful. Figure out if you're one of them or not. Because trust me, they are talented in remarkable ways. And if you're interested in understanding how your military transition is more like a transformation, watch this video.